Okay, so we're back. We're going to look at exercise 13-1. This is the demo. So just a reminder, this is what your form looks like right now over here. And this is where we are going with it. So you can see that we're reorganizing some of the member information, putting in ordering information, a payment, credit cards, and the like. So going from here. Also on this one, the required fields are highlighted in this red, and we're going to change over here to where it's kind of a more calmer maroon color, if you will, if it's required. All right, so let's see what's going on. So the instructions say to, starting with number 3, we're going to fix the formatting of the form. Okay, and it tells you to test and after each change just to make sure. I'm not going to do that, but that is something that you always want to do. Whenever you make a change, test it because it may or may not have worked and you don't want to get further down the road and then realize you have to go back. Okay, so number 3 says change the field set margins and padding. So if I'm looking at my field sets, remember the boxes. We want the margin and padding, so there's no top margins. You see they start right after each other. And that the bottom margin is 0.5 em and the top and bottom padding. So inside here, we have a little bit of space inside the border. The top and bottom is 0.5 and the right and left is 1 em. So it's slightly larger on the left and the right. Okay, so we want to do that. So how we do that is we just use the keyword field set. We set the margin bottom to 0.5 and then our padding. Remember, it goes like a clock. Top, if you're doing 2, you do the first one is top and bottom, and the second one is the left and the right. If you had 4, it would be top, right, bottom, left. So in this case, top and bottom, 0.5 em, right and left is 1 em. Number 4, change the legend formatting so the color is black. Okay, so the default color is black. So you just want to remove what the settings were there before, giving it its unique bright red color. Just remove that and it will go automatically to black. Number 5, change the formatting so the required and the invalid fields have a 2-pixel border with hashtag 8 followed by 5 zeros as the font color, and the valid fields have a 1-pixel black border. So you can see down here on line 72, 75, we've set that. So we're looking at the input, and then we use the colon required, input required, input invalid. We want that border to be 2-pixel solid with this color, kind of a maroonish. If you hover, you should see it. And then if it's valid, just keep it 1-pixel solid black. And then invalid, no box shadow. All right, so number 6, we're going to look at the field sets because you could see that we needed to remove some things around. Remember, change one field set at a time, then test after each change. One thing I want to point out on the CSS too is notice on line 49, we have this comment saying the styles for the form. That's where we know to go, and all of our styles regarding the form will be there. I highly encourage you to organize your CSS. Don't just put those changes anywhere. Just make sure it's in the right place so you can find it later. All right, back over to the HTML. So number 6 says to change the heading before the form. So here's our H1 right here on line 36. Make that order form. Then you're going to combine the first 2 field sets. So back on the old form, we had registration information, then we had member information. We're going to combine a lot of this, put it into one, just member information, and notice we got rid of the passwords. So let's go back here, change the legend to member information. So right here on line 40. You're going to delete those password fields. So you're going to see where you had your label and input for the passwords, get rid of those. And so then it should look like the example right here when you're done. Okay. in the membership, number 7, in the membership information field set. So we're still, let's see, we're down here. Yep. So down in the membership information field set, change the change the legend to ordering information. Okay, so down in the second field set highlighted, change that legend to say ordering information. And then you're going to change the HTML here in the field. So here, the order type list. So our first one here, order type. Notice you've got the label and then you have what's in it. So an input means field box, a text field, a text box. They're going to type in there. Select is just that. They're going to select something. So in this case, we want to set this to for order underscore type. The label is order type. That's what will be shown on the page. And then the select right here, the name and the ID are the same, just as the for. So you can see all the connection here. And we have 3 options: member package, donor package, and single tickets. And we want to give each one of them a unique value. Okay, then we're going to add tickets. So again, we have the label. And you want the for, just a reminder, the for, the ID, the name to all make sense to whatever that label and field is. Okay, so this is an input type. The placeholder says number of single tickets. So that means just that's what's going to show up in the box as a kind of grayed out little instructions. Okay, number 8, we're going to add the payment method field. Okay, so here's that field set. And you'll notice on the example that those are radio buttons, the circles. Okay, the thing about radio buttons, you can only choose one at a time. Check boxes, you can choose as many as you want, but radio buttons are only one at a time. So in this field set, you're going to add 2 radio buttons and use the coding method that shows in figure 13-8. So you'll have to go to that page. So the user can activate the buttons by clicking on the labels. Okay, then we'll adjust the CSS so the buttons are side by side. So let's just start with this here. So we've got our legend is payment method. The input type is radio. Okay, so then we've got payment type, ID, bill, value, bill. So for bill, bill me. Then we have the next one is also payment type. ID is credit. The value is credit. So notice each of these radio buttons, since they can only be chosen one at a time, must have its own unique ID and value because we can do different things with it. Okay, then the label is credit card. Okay. Let's see. There we go. So we've got our bill me and credit card. That closes out that field set. All right, so in the CSS then, we want to adjust so the buttons are side by side. So bill me and credit card. Okay, so come down here for our radio buttons right here. Okay, so we have our radio label, float none, radio input. We have a width margin right here. Otherwise, they will show up on top of each other instead of side by side. Okay, and then let's see, where are we? One way to do that is code an ID for the field set and then use an ID selector to turn off the float for the labels. So over here we've got an ID radio, and that's where we were able to, right here, then put the float to none. Okay. Then it also says set the width to auto, left margin to 3M, which we've done that. That just gives a little space between bill me and credit card. Okay, or I'm sorry, the credit card and the radio button itself. All right, so number 9, we're going to add the credit information. So that's our very, almost to the end. So that field set is right here. It's a little bit of a long one. Here, the card type list should have these choices: Visa, MasterCard, and Discover. All right, so you can see these right here. So first, let's start with the legend, credit card information. The label is card type for that first one. And then we have options. So we use the select. The name is card_type, just like the label for. ID is the same. The values are unique, V, M, and D, and then we've got the names of them. We put a break in between. Next, we're going to do the card number. Okay, so it should have the placeholder that says 16 digits. So first we set the label right here. Then the input type, it's text. So we're going to have people type it in. The required pattern. So that's mentioned a little bit down there at the end of it, but basically this is the required pattern to validate whether they actually did import or input a credit card number. So that will check the validity. Placeholder is 16 digits, and then the title must be 16 digits. The placeholder is what will show up in the field itself to kind of give information to the user. All right, so then we want the month and then the year. So we start off with the label, expiration date, and then again, we've got a drop-down selector. So in this case, we have many options. We have January through December. Each one of them has its own unique value all the way through 1 through 12. And then for the year, same thing. It's a selector. And we're asked to have values from 2017 to 2021. So we put those in, and the values are just their numbers. Okay. Then it asks us at the bottom of 9 to format these lists. Okay, so they have IDs, exp_month and exp_year. So if we go back over here to our form area, lines 94 and 97, oops, sorry, 91 and 94, exp month, we can use that ID and then set the width for those. All right, number 10, for the submit your order field set. So this very last one where the buttons are for submit and reset fields. So that is the very last one down here. ID buttons, legend, submit your order. This is, we just put a blank label right there because there's no label. Input type is submit. The value on the text on the top of the button is going to say submit. The next one, input type reset, and the value defaults to reset, but we want it to say reset fields. So make sure that you put that in there. Okay. And these probably should have already been the same, so you just have to set, change the legend up here to submit your order. All right, and then you're going to test and validate it. Just use Chrome to make sure that, that it's checking that you have valid data, especially with the credit card, putting the pattern in there. Email, it will check for a standard email format. Click the submit button. It should send you to the register_account.html. So way back up here at the top where we started the form, this right here. So check that that action is happening, and then also check it in different browsers. Your Internet Explorer, Edge, Safari, Chrome, because each browser has its own unique situation. All right, hope this was helpful.